This video is for loan officers, and there's a very interesting article that came out on the National Mortgage News about what lenders and loan offices can learn from the student loan servicing industry when it comes to serving Gen Z. I don't 100% agree with everything in the article. I will go over what I agree with, what I don't agree with, as an organization that not just serves millennials, but Gen Z as well. What the article gets wrong is how Gen Z shop for student loans because there's not a mass shopping trend in the student loan world and arena the way that exists in the mortgage world. Because for student loans, essentially you apply through this complex form called the FAFSA. You don't have anybody really guiding you through it like the mortgage process does. It's a federal process that is dictated and mandated by the school to do. So you just do it. There is no 90% plus of federal student loan. Our student loans are held by the federal government. So it's not like you're shopping rates. Congress sets those interest rates on an annual basis. So that's the part I disagree with the article, but there's a lot of great points. So I'm going to shrink my face and go over this article by the National Mortgage News. The article talks about how there's a perception that Gen Z does everything through their phone, when in reality, personal connections especially regarding financial products, do matter, okay? There was another article by the National Mortgage News that talks about the importance of using an education-based approach and educational webinars to touch base with Gen Z and millennials, specifically Gen Z, but also millennials, because if a person is not quite ready to go and put in an application, talk to a lender, they may not be ready right now, but they're less scared of the idea of just going to an educational workshop that you're holding on Zoom or something, right? So it's a great approach. It's a soft way to get in front of people without a huge commitment on their end to say, yes, I'm going to work with you to do this mortgage right now. A part of it may be you. A part of it may be rates. A part of it may be, I'm not quite sure I'm ready. A part of it may be ambivalence about all their financial picture, whether they're ready for it, whether they want to pay off other debts, whether they really are staying in the city or whatnot, right? So an educational based approach is really, really important. I wanted to add that. That's from another article. I'm interjecting here, but I think that that's really important. Also, mortgage originators need to keep in mind, as the leading edge of this age group, they're born between 1997 and 2012, right? And they are starting to move into this home buying market. Okay, but they have a significant amount of student loan debt. So this article got the president of Campus Door to talk about Gen Zers. You know, they prefer to work with originators across multiple channels rather than just pick up the phone. So although they're a generation that may text, they still want to call. They want to learn. They will Google and YouTube to learn online. But when they talk to an originator, they will tend to ask more complex questions that is very scenario specific, right? That they can't get that by typing into Google, right? How much mortgage can I afford if my DTI is XYZ? They might be able to Google what is DTI, right? How is DTI calculated? But they're not going to be able to Google specifically for themselves what mortgage they can afford, what interest rate, all that stuff. So they're going to ask, and it says here by Sarah Parrish, they do appreciate the full service concierge approach. When they are at the point of needing to pick up the phone, they want answers that are specific to them, like I mentioned. So they tend to ask more sophisticated questions, which, by the way, I totally agree with. When they ask sophisticated questions and they're ready for that and they're ready to actually get a mortgage, that's the point in which a telephone call, not a text message, right, would be a viable channel to communicate. But the initial prelim items through text, through email, that is fine. Furthermore, older generations are more willing to put up with frictions in the process, whereas Gen Zers are less tolerant because they've grown up with technology just being much more improved and faster moving. I remember when I was young and I got access to the internet in about sixth, seventh grade. I remember like the noise dialing onto the internet, right? Like I was used to loading a web page and having to sit there and like watching the web page load physically, like physically pixel by pixel coming in. I remember that when I was in middle school, when we first got like our first computer we had, and of course everybody in the whole family used that one computer. It's not like we all had our own devices at that point. And I just remember sitting there like waiting for the dial-up internet. This Gen Z generation is not used to that. They probably don't even know what the noise dialing into the internet sounds like. And they certainly will not tolerate a website taking 30 seconds to load or getting a bunch of errors and like emailing customer support to ask about that. They're just less tolerant of that. And they want a good user experience, right? But I don't agree that Gen Z expects it to be like Amazon shopping. I mean, when you buy something that Amazon will let you return, like let's say a set of forks, for example, I have just from eating lunch, it's not the same risk and stake of your financial well-being as buying a home. So I don't agree that they expect an Amazon-like experience. You don't need to, when you buy a set of forks, or a set of pots and pans for your kitchen, the risk of buying the wrong set you may not like, or the risk of not being able to return it is just so much less when it's just a consumable product you'll buy again in a few years, right? Versus a home, which can be with you for, several decades, if not more, right? So the idea that they expect it to be like Amazon, I would say is a little off. Like I'd say definitely less patient with errors and less patient with things taking time to load, but they're not expecting an Amazon experience when they have complex questions about what their rates are going to be. Will they have to pay mortgage insurance? What will the fact that they live in a flood zone and having to pay that extra flood insurance look like on their overall affordability? What will the fact that they don't want that they can't come up with sufficient proof of income for their side hustle they earn in cash, whatever it is, like whatever their core question or core issue is, they're not expecting it all to be solved like an Amazon-like experience, but they definitely are less patient with friction. Okay. By the way, all the preliminary questions, they will likely research on their own on like YouTube. They will ask parents for advice because a lot of times parents help with down payment or even help co-sign the loan. So they will go to their parents, but they are, for general inquiries, very reliant on Google and YouTube to research and get the general specifics. The general questions they have down ahead of interaction with a mortgage loan officer. Okay. And let's see. Regarding loan servicing, sorry. Yeah, the number one preference when dealing with loans is they want to speak to a person, which makes sense. It's a huge financial burden, right? They appreciate proactiveness, timeliness to respond. They appreciate good customer service. I mean, who wouldn't, right? And they say that there's a desire to shop around rates more than brand loyalty drive their decision when purchasing a loan. So that's interesting. Although they compare to student loans, it's not true. They do. Student loans, you don't shop that much, but I could understand that on the mortgage side. And they want to definitely be aware of how interest rates affect repayment over time. And with the cost of education rising and how much debt borrowers already got into, by the time they go search for a home, there's going to be much, much more ambivalence because now they might be mid-20s and skeptical about taking on more debt. So I just they're definitely savvy shoppers for sure. And I definitely wanted to preview, not as a Gen Zer myself, but as a millennial who serves Gen Zers in our business, we do see similar items and issues that are being discussed in this article. I will link this article to our YouTube video. Please share this information if you believe other loan officers, lenders, or even Gen Zers can benefit from this. One piece that I didn't share is that 68% of Gen Zers believe homeownership is important to building wealth. So Gen Zers are not out of the game. Student loans will definitely affect their qualification. And if you have Gen Zers coming to you and they're having a hard time because of their student debt, please do keep us in mind. All loan officers can sign up for free for their dashboard as well as an estimator to address the issues with Gen Zers with student loan debt at lender.myloansense.com. Lender.myloansense.com. Again, I will link this article. I will also link to lender.myloansense.com where you can get your free estimator product to help more Gen Zers close on a home. Also have a productive conversation with Gen Zers, be able to talk about how student loans impact mortgage in a consumer webinar where you can let your realtor partners even invite their customers. That's really important. I would recommend all loan officers hold at least twice a month Zoom webinar for your realtor partners and the people you talk to invite people to learn more, like address issues like what is DTI? How much house can I afford? How do I start preparing myself for the home buying process? Generic things like that, borrowers definitely are asking, and it's a great way to throw in your story, build a personal relationship while also answering the more general questions in which a Gen Zer would definitely be willing to come to a no commitment, risk-free workshop. So in fact, we invite you to our risk-free, no commitment. We hold a workshop at 1 p.m. Eastern time every Tuesday for loan officers. That is complimentary with our sign up at lender.myloansense.com. Let us know if you have any questions.